Hi everyone, welcome back. Today in yet another installment of shorter videos due to time constraints, we're going to try to fix my motor without taking it apart. Thank you all so much for joining me yet again. I greatly appreciate every single one of you that subscribed lately and joined me along on this journey, and I'm just trying to spread the word and awareness that you can do this, that you can do pretty much anything mechanical or fabrication or engineering wise if you just try hard enough. I'm definitely not in any of those fields, but we're trying to make it happen, and we've been doing that for a long time. This was supposed to be a automotive channel, but it kind of devolved into racing real quick because that's pretty much the only thing that I've been doing lately. I've got other projects lined up, I just haven't gotten there yet for you who are new to the channel. But again, I appreciate every single one of you. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here a while, thank you again anyway. So, like I mentioned in my last video, we've been trying to pump some videos out in shorter lengths because I have a lot going on behind the scenes, and I really want to make sure that I keep videos coming to you guys. So we gotta, and plus, like I said, we got a lot to do. There's no body, there's no suspension, there's nothing on here yet. So we have a lot to do, but I really have a lot going on, and I gotta make sure I keep these coming. So, like I'd mentioned, we're gonna work on the motor, and it's not broken, it's just old. Old in the time sense, not really in a race sense. Now, what's wrong with the engine is it's been through a few winters, and since I live in Connecticut and I don't have any insulation in my garage, it gets chilly, it gets humid, it gets a lot of hot cold cycles. Hot cold cycles on cast metals like this tend to create condensation, and it's all just altogether bad. It's a 602 crate, if you're wondering. It's also a table, but I will clean it off, trust me. But it's just a box stock sealed 602 crate, which you can see, there we are. The old GM seals. This was built in 2017, and I raced it in 2018, but I've only raced part-time since then. So if I actually did the math, this thing probably only has 30, 35 races on it, maybe. That's a maybe. But even for a 602 crate, that's really not a heck of a lot. I mean, I know guys who've put 150 on their motors, and they were still winning when it finally let go, and it was never rebuilt. So, I mean, this thing is still pretty new. The only issue is that the valve seats are a little bit rough, but you can feel it and hear it coming out of the valves. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna attempt to fix that. I don't have the foggiest clue as to whether or not this is actually gonna work, but I got an idea on what to try. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to do some kind of redneck valve lapping. And everyone who knows what I'm about to do is probably screaming at their TV right now going, "What are you doing?" And trust me, this isn't going to be as involved of a process as you think. I'm not going to be like painting valve lapping compound in through the spark plug hole and trying to do it from the outside, because I can't take the engine apart. Up here in Connecticut, if you run a, Feather, sweet. If you run a 602 crate engine, which is the only real engine you're allowed if you're running crates, you have to have a sealed engine. You can't take it apart. Plus, I've got it wire sealed. These are Stafford seals. These over here are Thompson seals. They seal the front, they seal the oil pan, they seal each head, and they seal the intake. So you can't take it apart. So what I want to do is, and I know this probably won't work, or it won't at least... I hope it works, but I have to be really careful. What I'm going to do is obviously clean it off first, because I got all this crap on here from working. I don't know what that is, but I've got, I've been working on brake lines and all this other stuff, so all the tools are just kind of hanging around. So I have to clean it off. What we're going to do is we're going to take the headers out, because they were here for fitment, and we're going to take them and put them over on the side. We're going to pull the spark plugs all out. We're going to pull the valve covers off. And what we're going to do is, I'm also going to pull the duct tape off of here. I have a little, let me show you. I've got this device. Anybody with children knows what this is. It's just an ear sucker, nose sucker 9000 with a hose attached. What I do is, or what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to fill it up with Marvel Mystery Oil. And I'm going to shoot this down every single cylinder through the exhaust ports and the intake ports, because I'm going to take this thing and just kind of jam it down into the individual ports and just kind of squirt away. That's disgusting. And then comes the other part. I'm going to take a rubber hose, and hopefully, I got to find the right size, because this is probably too small. Fit it over the end of the valve. I'm probably going to try pumping air into the cylinder so that it doesn't go shooting off. And I'll take one of these, one of these types of bits or something, and just kind of jam it in there and jam it in a drill and put hose clamps on it and try to spin the valve until hopefully any rust buildup or any impurity kind of works itself off. The oil will help keep it lubricated and act as a cleaning agent, in theory. Again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not sure if this will even really work, but it's worth a try. We'll take an initial reading with the leak down machine there, and because I don't have a starter hooked up, I've got no electrics in it right now. So we're going to try to see if we can at least improve any leakage that could be coming out of these cylinders. Okay, we are prepped and almost ready to send this thing. Now, we're going to have to remove the rockers and the push rods, and obviously we're going to have to pull the valve springs. So I figured out that that piece of small hose that I showed you earlier actually does squeeze right over the tip of the valve. So I'm really, really fingers crossed hoping that I'm going to do these one at a time. I'm going to pull... This is going to be a very long and involved process. I'm going to basically pull the rocker, all these stuff off, but I'm only going to pull one valve spring at a time to at least try to mitigate any failure or... What the hell was that falling over outside? Anyway, like I'd mentioned before, these are sealed engines. If I drop a valve into the cylinder, we're screwed. So this is really nerve-wracking. So I'm going to do everything possible to try to mitigate that by doing one at a time. We'll get the air pumped into the cylinder with my kit over here. I got a leak down. I've got a valve spring compressor. I've got the actual hose that I use to pump the cylinders up. We'll pump it up. We'll pull one valve spring off. I might, I'll connect it to this first, and then I'll pull the air out. Like, I'll stop the airflow into the cylinder when the valve is connected and tight to this. so that this will hopefully stop it from sliding in. I'm hoping the valve seals are good enough that they might assist in that, but you never know. I do not want to be trying to roll an engine over and, screwing around with like, I don't know what, to try to finagle a valve back into place, because that would be a complete nightmare. So that's kind of the basic gist of what we're going to do in a very confusing way. Guys. All right, I can't get excited. But if you're a longtime watcher of the channel, you'll remember when I tested this thing with a leak down, and I'm like, it's leaking out of 7 of 8 valves and on the exhaust and 6 of 8 on the intake. Well, on the time lapse, did you see the vapor coming up out of the intake? That's because when I poured the Marvel down into the number 1 intake bank, which is down and through here, it was leaking so badly that it was creating oil vapor from the Marvel when I put it down in there. So that was incredibly nerve-wracking, and I hate it more than anything you'll ever imagine because of the nerves involved. But I think it worked, because I sat here and I spun it forwards, backwards, pushed on it, pulled on it, did all that stuff. I hate pulling on it, by the way, because don't isolate that sound, but it's really nerve-wracking. I hate it, like I said. But the exhaust isn't leaking anymore. I did it to the intake, and I had to pour Marvel down it like twice and put duct tape over the ports and completely seal it off to see if there was any air pillowing this up, like blowing a balloon. Nothing. No oil vapor, no air coming out. No, I'm sorry, I'm excited for once. I brake cleaned and duct taped over the exhaust port to see if that would blow the tape off. And it didn't. We might be onto something here, because it's not like we really burned all the valves. It's just age and rust buildup, I think. So if we can at least spin the valves to the point where it wears off any sort of rust, and just, it's not like we're using an abrasive lapping compound. We're using Marvel Mystery Oil, So it's basically a cleaning agent like WD-40 or something of that nature, but it's also keeping it from galling and lubricating, and it's also lubricating it as well, I think. But it might be breaking down contaminants as well. So I think we're really onto something here, because when it was leaking and you saw vapor and I saw stuff spitting out at me, like I put on fresh garage clothes and I'm already soaked in oil because I let the air hose go with Marvel still in it, and it's now on me. It's sealing. One down, 7 more to go. Side 1 update. You remember on my previous video, which I'll probably forget to link, when I tested it, I could feel and see air coming out of it if I plugged the ports, right? on the intake and the exhaust side. On 6 out of the 8 cylinders on the intake side, and 7 out of the 8 cylinders on the exhaust side. This side gave me a few problems. However, the first one I did, number 1, both of them came out clean, stopped leaking. Intake on 3 came out clean. Exhaust on 3 and 5, leak, which sucks. I don't know if that's just going to be a valve job or what, but I did my best. A compression check will tell us all we really need to know. Intake on 5, clean. And on 7, both of them are clean. So like I said, 6 of 8 for intake and 7 of 8 for exhaust. And we're only down to these two guys on this side. So we're going to move over there. I'm going to have to put a camera battery in. I dumped half of my bottle of Marvel on the floor, which I guess I got enough to finish, so that's probably okay, but we can't drop any more, which means now I'm probably going to. So we're going to swap around the other side, and we're going to get back to work. Folks, we have made genuine progress. Obviously, these are 2 valve per cylinder, V8s, so that means you're going to have 16 valves through the whole motor. 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, right? Last time I checked, which I saw the video, I've already said it, 6 of the 8 intake valves leaked when I did a leak down. You could see it pillowing through here. If you put liquid like Marvel down towards the valve seat, you could hear it bubbling. 7 out of the 8 exhaust seats were leaking. So that's a total of, I think 13, right? Yeah, I think it's 13 valves were leaking out of the 16. Oh. Got a little piece of rubber here or something. Don't want that getting down into the oil. Let's just get rid of that. We're now down to 4. And it's really, really kind of funny. Anybody who knows a Chevy small block, they know the problem valves. And guess what? I marked them in yellow. Yep. On both sides, the only ones that leak now are the center exhaust ports that share a port. That's it. So the only thing that's really going to fix that is a valve job, but they're actually better than they were before, but they are still a little bit leaky. But again, any small block Chevy with the shared valve in the exhaust ports, I should say, you all know that. I find that to be kind of funny, actually, because it's so prototypical or stereotypical. Either one. I just find that to be kind of funny. But that worked. That got a lot of leakage out of these valves. Now, we're going to test it with the leak down tester, which I'm not very good with, just because I've already made a baseline with it, and it would be worth it to check it again. The whole thing is apart. It's all ready to go. Let's take some readings. I might even, because there's no clutch in this thing and it's not hooked up to anything, I might even hook the starter up, which is not in it. I might have to install that first, but there's no headers, so that'll be easy. And I might run I think I got a battery on the back shelf that's charged. I might hook jumper cables up to that and then jump, like using the old single man trigger, and see if I could do a compression test. It couldn't hurt. We want the data and it's all ready to go. We might as well do it and see if I can. So I got my handy dandy leak down tester I got off of probably Harbor Freight or Amazon. I think it's Amazon because there's no branding on here. This thing ain't great, but if I use it and don't change the settings, I can at least get a good number from all the rest of them. Hopefully it's still set from before, but who knows? Got my pen and paper. We're gonna write down each side and write down the numbers that we get. Hopefully we'll get good ones. So I did a little bit of a cheapy Amazon leak down test like you just saw. And the results are actually pretty much on par what I expected. Now, obviously these valves here are the worst too. And I knew that. These are a little bit leaky, not so bad. And the leak down shows that. 2, no, let's start at 1 because 1 is here. 1 is 14, which is here. 3 is 18, which is the worst one. 5 is 16. 7 is 12. That's in percent of leak down. Now 2 is 12. 4 is 13. 6 and 8, all of the rest of them are 13%. So like I said, I knew right away that these were going to be the worst ones. Leak down proves that. Now, I've also got a compression test to do. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do it. I'm going to install that starter that's sitting on the floor where it shouldn't be. And then we're going to figure it out with some bungee cords and some jumper cables and some switches, and a lot of pain and fire is probably going to happen. Oh, I am getting a little ahead of myself, I guess, because I forgot that even though the motor and transmission are sitting here with a throwout bearing and everything in it, there's no clutch or flywheel. So what good is a starter going to do? So I think we're going to just put the valve covers back on it, keep it nice and clean, put a big floor jack under the oil pan, drop the transmission out, put the flywheel on, put the clutch together, and at least we'll have something done. I don't know if I'm going to run that transmission. The input shaft felt a little wiggly, like she needs a little rebuild. But we don't need that in there right now. We're going to drop everything out, and we're going to go and put the flywheel in so that we can do our compression test because, well, that's kind of necessary. now that every muscle in my upper body is cramped, we can do our thing that we were going to do that I forgot about. Yeah, compression test. That's it. All right, so I got to find a battery, and I'm going to go in my truck and see if I got jumper cables, or maybe I'll look in my electrical bin over here and see if I have any old, like, hey, look at that. I got like a screw-on battery terminal, although everything I own is probably top post. I'll probably just use jumper cables. And I got a battery over here somewhere. It's probably a top poster. I'll probably just take vice grips and just yank a wire and stick it on there. Yep, those are top post. And then I'll take the old clicker, hook it up to the terminals, and see if I got any spin. Well, let's see if this works, because I really want to get this test done. And I actually got a few things checked off the old list. I got the clutch, pressure plate, flywheel, everything is Loctited. I got the throwout bearing, which I can actually connect now to that brake line that I just put in with the bulkhead. And transmission that's rebuilt is now in there. And the engine's hooked up. So basically the engine now can just stay completely, so I don't have to take it out. I'll just spray paint around it when we go to paint the rest of it. But either way, let's do that thing we said. You know, sometimes my genius surprises even myself. Let me check these connections here. Ooh, that one wasn't very good. Let's just make sure that that's proper. Okay, I found a negative front post battery terminal, a positive front post battery terminal with a terminated end. So I hooked that up to my starter. I got the jumper cable here hooked up to the solenoid and the positive post there. I got the negative vice gripped to the chassis. Now, let's see. Awesome. Yeah, that is the battery out of the car. Now we can get to work. You know, this worked pretty well. I'm checking the heat. They're not warm at all. So that did perfectly. So that's great. The switch worked perfectly. This thing read differently every cylinder, so that's probably good. It's not broken, hopefully. The numbers are pretty much what I expected in a range from the leak down test. Now, the highest cylinder I got is 2 at, I think there was a little extra oil in it because it was puffing like oil out. Like I think I didn't drain down the upper one and the rings got nice and coated. So I think there's a little extra compression because I think I left a little extra Marvel in this cylinder. But it's also the lowest on the leak down test. So it was 175, which is a little high. Like I said, I think it's due to the oil sealing the rings. The rest of them all felt basically the same. It wasn't puffing as much out at me. We got, you know, a little bit high over here, but we had 160, 155, 155. That's really close to range. Then you go to the other side. You got 160, which is exactly what I expected. And we had the 2 trouble ones. We had 145 and 155. So this one was definitely the lowest on the leak down, and this one is the lowest on compression, but it's not by a heck of a lot. I mean, the average is about 155, 160, and it's like 10 points lower. It's 145. So obviously she'll probably need a valve job at some point in the future, but for now it's actually probably okay. And the last one here was 155. All 4 of the rear ones were 155. These 2 are about 160-ish, you know, and then the middle ones, well, you're looking at one a little higher than the other one, but the other one was the problem child after all. So Got our numbers, and the motor seems to be a lot happier than I expected. So I'm going to disconnect that absolute nightmare of a wiring harness down there, and we're going to have to move on to something else. So I think it's break time though, because I've been out here since like 7 a.m. and I took the day off of work to try to put a video together just in case. Like I said before, I'm kind of on a very different schedule this time. I have to get a few videos created and put out all at once. And that's just kind of a scheduling thing. I got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, so I want to make sure that we don't miss a week. So there's your peek behind the curtain, but I got a lot of time left today, so let's keep working. Got a little froggy off camera. I was doing some cleanup stuff and I said, oh, squirrel, and I started playing with pedals and stuff like that. And now I'm bleeding masters. I capped them off and we're gonna leave fluid in them, and when I need to connect them, I'll just connect them. But the clutch actually works. Like, I actually can push the clutch down and that will disengage. You can actually see the hoses move, which is kind of neat. Now I'm just kind of going through and hitting the brake pedal and watching the bubbles come up. Sorry for the shaky camera, but you know, just keep doing it until the bubbles stop. They'll stop eventually, which is kind of funny because now that I'm doing it, oh, there they go again. All right. Like I said, I'll just keep going until the bubbles stop. I should just get in it and start hitting the brake pedal just unconsciously. I did put, sorry about this convoluted mess here. I'm kind of in the middle of doing these brake lines still, which I haven't quite finished because I'm still waiting for stuff to come in, which will probably be on the next video. Yeah, I capped them off. We got the lines going. I spilled all the brake fluid in the world, and all the painting that I just did melted off. I tried. It touches paint, you're done for anyway. So, like I said, I think I'm just going to continue on making lines. I can at least get the front done and start moving towards the back, because I got a few of these little clippies. Definitely didn't buy enough of them. I bought 10 of them, and that definitely wasn't enough. So I bought 75 more because, you know, that would be ridiculous. Anyway, we're at the point where I might actually, instead of putting brake lines on, I might start bolting suspension to it so that we can figure out where the brake calipers are going to sit. That way we know where the bulkheads are going to fit and all the other stuff. So, plus, it'll clean up my floor. Except for this. This is all new stuff. But, you know, that and a bunch of other stuff hiding around. And there's an upper over there. It might clean up the floor. So I might just do that instead. Okay, guys. I'm trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole, and we've hit a roadblock. I was really hoping my stock stuff would fit, but the amount of absolute hackery that I would have to do to make it work brings into question a lot of other stuff. So I think I'm just going to stop here, do a little research, and try to figure out why this stuff doesn't fit. But again, I don't want to hack it up too much to the point where it starts to become too flimsy, because that's pretty much where I would have to be in order for it to fit. So it fits, it just doesn't go down at all. There's no travel, which is really dumb. I mean, if you make something to be stock replacement, like this chassis, wouldn't you think stock stuff should fit onto it? And I'm not spending $375 for one lower control arm from the people who make the chassis. I'll figure it out. Either way, it is getting late. I am hungry, even though it definitely doesn't look it, let's be fair. And we got a heck of a lot done. This was intended to be a one-day video shoot, and I think we kind of pulled it off. It's not that bad, you know. We did a hell of a lot of work We even did work that I didn't expect to be doing, to be fair. We got brakes, well, kind of put together. I'm kind of hitting it right now. Yeah, it's still a little bubbly, and I could probably sit here and work the pedal for quite a while. And yeah, there's still some bubbles. I'll have to, the level's down, so I think I'm gonna have to top that off if I want to keep doing that. It's a weird way of bench bleeding, but apparently that works, I guess. I don't even know. So we got the motor figured out. That's good. We know that it's probably okay. Did a compression test, did a leak down test, did some kind of weird redneck valve lapping, got the brakes again continued, made a very horrific electrical nightmare on that side, but that's gonna have to do it. I'm tired. I haven't showered. I feel disgusting. Luckily, I haven't eaten too much because I'm trying to lose weight. Trust me, there's plenty to lose. So I want to go back in my air-conditioned house and watch some racing from Stafford tonight. That would be awesome. Hopefully, we'll be there very, very soon. Like I said, if we could actually make this thing fit, that would be great. Because I do not want to get rid of the cachet of parts that I have and spend an exorbitant amount of money on stuff that I already have that should fit. Either way, thank you guys for hanging in there with me and understanding my predicament right now with having to film a bunch of shorter videos because of time constraints. The longer videos will return in a few weeks, or maybe a week or so, but I don't really know when this is going to come out. So, like I said, I'm trying to bang a bunch of stuff out here and keep content rolling on the channel. And I appreciate everybody's input, everybody's comments, everybody for subscribing, and everybody for hanging in there. Like I said, this is going to be a long project, and I really hope it's not that long because I really got to get it done. I do not want to be going out there next year with an untested car. That would be bad. I wouldn't mind having it rolling, so maybe I could roll another project in here that's not racing related. That would be pretty cool. And that's something that I've been wanting to do for a long period of time, but that's kind of on the back burner right now. We'll figure that out. But either way, thank you guys again. I greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you know somebody who's interested in amateur, whatever-y, send them my way. And until next time, thank you again. I greatly appreciate it.